Good morning. It's 7:50 in the morning on the East Coast on this 28th day of February. Pre-dawn, the president spoke from Mar-a-Lago, announcing to the American people and to the world that after decades of wreaking terror around the world and inflicting murder, pain, and suffering on the people of the United States of America and all of our allies in Europe, in Asia, and certainly in the Middle East, the war to liberate the people of Iran has begun. Here's the president early this morning around 4 a.m., not just making the case to the American people, but making the case to all free people on the planet.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels and international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror.
All right. And just for a moment here, let me just jump in, because what the president is about to do here, it's been said that the president needs to make the case to the American people for this strike, obviously. And yes, that is the case that he's doing right now. But he goes well beyond that. This is not just the case based on the current situation in Iran, the most recent crackdown on the people of Iran, killing tens of thousands of innocent people who were protesting the regime. And it's certainly not a direct result of the breakdown of the negotiations that were going on in Geneva. You're going to hear a lot of talking heads on cable news, on broadcasts, a lot of apologists here who just want to oppose Trump at any cost or oppose the use of America's military force at any cost. And they're going to say things like, hey, we were in the middle of negotiations. Iran was at the table. We were making progress. We were close to a deal. Do not believe that, okay? Go back and look at the actual news reports from the last week, because I've been tracking these on a daily basis, and you should too. Every single report, either at the Wall Street Journal or Reuters or the BBC or any other news agency that had suggested that they were close to a deal, the source on those stories, every single one of them, was a member of the Iranian delegation. The Iranian foreign minister said that they are very close to a deal. The Iranian foreign minister said that they've already agreed on nuclear capabilities, and now they're just talking about, the use of missiles, and that not once did anyone from the American delegation even come close to saying that they were close to a deal. Iran knew that they were just trying to waste time, deflect, and hope that they had Barack Obama and John Kerry on the other side of the table, with Ben Rhodes sending them little scribbled notes telling them to make some sort of awful deal. They were hoping and praying, and they were just trying to extend the inevitable here to try to play a delay game and then set up a narrative of, well, if the great Satan does end up striking us, it's going to be because they just wanted to anyway, and they never intended on having a negotiation. That's not the case. All right, let me pick up where the president just left off. We wanted to get a higher quality version of it, so we're going to the president's direct feed. Here we go.
Terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular, my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again. They can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission.
All right. There's a little bit more from this speech, but I did want to pause there because it's an important part of the speech, obviously. First of all, the president just made the case not only for the near 5 decades of terror that the Iranian regime has inflicted upon the region and around the world. And I'm telling you, if you've ever actually met one of our veterans who served in Iraq or in Afghanistan, who suffered from one of those roadside bombs, one of those IEDs that were created and implemented by the Iranian military, you don't know what pain and suffering really looks like. Americans have been the victims of this government since literally its first day, taking over from the Shah of Iran in the late 70s and the Iranian hostage ordeal all the way up to, well, this past year, frankly. So he obviously makes the case there, not just in America's interest, but also in the interests of the entire world. Let's not forget that Iran is a partner with every bad actor on the planet and circumvents every single international norm and every single human rights basic norm that we all accept on this planet. That's who this regime has been. And President Trump is not the first president to sit in the Oval Office and contemplate exactly what he has given the go-ahead to do here. Every single president since Jimmy Carter has been in a position to and has threatened and gone right up to the brink in many cases of giving the green light for a military strike exactly as you're seeing executed right now. The Iranian regime is at its weakest point in its history, in many respects because of the economic policies of the United States of America, driving down the price of oil and also cutting off many of the allies that Iran was counting on for the distribution of their oil, including the trade that they had going on with Venezuela, isolating them from Russia. And also, by the way, if you care about the Russian war in Ukraine, it was Iran who was helping Russia with much of their war effort in Ukraine. So Iran is connected to every bad actor on the planet and has been since the beginning, all right? Then he just now cautioned the American people and alerted us that there could very well be American casualties here. We are now engaged in a military strike against a very dangerous regime. Yes, they are weaker than they've ever been right now, and it's the best time to strike, it appears, based on all of the military and diplomatic advisors in the administration and even many outside this administration. You'll see that there are many governments supporting this strike around the world, as well as you will see Democrats supporting this strike as well. They were all given a heads up earlier this week. The Gang of Eight was briefed by Secretary of War Pete Hegseth and by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. And all Chuck Schumer said when he left that meeting was the president needs to make his case to the American people. That's what he's doing right now. But there could very well be casualties as this progresses. That's the reality of this situation. And it's a sobering thought. And it's a good moment to remind everybody to keep all of our troops in your prayers. Right now, this appears to be a U.S. Navy and Air Force action, mostly via aircraft and missiles. But there could very well be troops involved at some point, including our Army and our Marines. So please do keep them in your prayers, as this is a very dangerous situation. Now, what you're about to hear from the president as he closes up his remarks that he delivered this morning, pre-dawn, is the communication to the people of Iran. Because a lot of people say, sure, you know, you go ahead and you get rid of the mullahs, you get rid of this government, this regime, but then what? Maybe the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. And we use the term devil cautiously in this circumstance. So the big question is, what's next? What happens in Iran if you do get rid of the current regime? And one must suspect that through many discussions and many covert operations over the course of the last year, the United States must have some good understanding of the players involved there and what the next steps might be. So here's the president speaking directly to the people of that country about this opportunity that the U.S. military is giving them.
We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that, with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all. Thank you.
That was the president early this morning, pre-dawn, making that announcement from Mar-a-Lago as the military strike now has begun against the government and the military threat from Iran. Now, a couple of images that we're already getting from Tehran that we want to show you. And by the way, you know, I just recently, a couple of minutes ago, said that I expect Democrats in Washington, D.C. to support this measure. And I make that educated guess based on a couple of things. And again, there will be people, I assure you, Ilhan Omar will not like this. I assure you, Rashida Tlaib will not like this, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and all the usual players. Here's the thing. Most of the people in the Democrats' leadership right now, people who have been in Washington, D.C. for more than 10 years, they supported the notion of this military strike when Joe Biden was president, when Barack Obama was president, also when George W. Bush was president, and when Bill Clinton was president. So you're right. They may all oppose this, but if they do, it will just be another demonstration of their Trump derangement syndrome, because they cannot support anything that President Trump does, even if it is something that they just supported about a minute and a half ago. All right, here are some remarkable scenes right now. This one from a schoolyard in Tehran as the plumes of smoke come up from the Supreme Leader's compound. The Supreme Leader, of course, is the unelected Islamic theocrat, the dictator that really runs everything outside of the government. He's the person who, you know, puts the dictates that women should be beaten to death if a strand of hair is seen outside of their headscarf, right? Here's what high school kids are doing when they see the plumes of smoke coming up after the first missile strike on the Supreme Leader's compound. I don't speak Farsi, but it seems like they're happy, doesn't it? Also noteworthy that not a lot of girls attend that school. Also in the streets of Tehran, as the plumes of smoke rose above the Supreme Leader's compound. I, for one, appreciate seeing people dancing in the streets of Tehran when there's a military strike against their leadership instead of military strikes against innocent civilians, as we've seen over the past several decades. Also, from the rooftops and balconies of downtown Tehran, you see a vivid picture of the military strikes and, again, pure joy in Farsi. Understand that each and every one of the people in these videos know exactly the building that has been attacked here. They know that this is the Supreme Leader. They know that this is the heart of the theocracy. This is my favorite video so far that we've seen. Just take a listen from this rooftop to the joy and the celebration. Apparently, translated here, the quote of the women laughing here is, "They hit the Supreme Leader's compound." That's what they say, and then listen to the reaction.
وای به تو زدن وای به زدن به تو زدن
noteworthy that so much of the celebration we just saw are of the women of Tehran, the women of Iran, who have fallen victim over these decades. All right, so what's next? This is the crown prince of Iran. He is the son of the Shah of Iran, who was the last leader before the authoritarian regime took over in the late 70s. He's lived in Northern Virginia since then, in exile. Since then, just the last several weeks since the protests began in Tehran, he's repositioned himself, last seen, I believe, in Egypt. And he put out a message to the people of Iran in Farsi.
همیهنان عزیزم امروز نسخه بروز شده کتابچه دوران اضطرار پروژه شکوفایی ایران منتشر می شود. پروژه شکوفایی ایران بخش پنجم از استراتژی پنجگانه ما برای بازپس گرفتن ایران و دوباره ساختن آن است.
What continues in this 3-minute address to the people of Iran is the Crown Prince's plan, strategy, blueprint for retaining order in that country, and taking over the government, providing the necessary utilities and basics that people need to live in a free Iran after the regime is deposed, and a temporary ability for him to be able to help in the transition to a free and fair election. I know. We've seen this story before. We've seen this story in the neighboring country of Iraq, where we were told that American troops would be welcomed as liberators and they would be more than willing and excited to embrace democracy and embrace Western values. I know. I get it. I promise you, I'm as skeptical as you are about what's next. One can celebrate the end of this regime and the terrorists who have run that nation, terrorizing not only the people of Iran, but all of the people of the world, and certainly targeting Americans worldwide. We can celebrate a military strike against that regime so that they can finally be toppled and the people of Iran can be given a chance, yet at the same time be incredibly skeptical, incredibly suspicious of leaders telling us that, oh, it's going to be fine. They're going to throw roses in our path as we march down Main Street of Tehran, and it's going to be easy. It's not going to be easy. Don't trust any leader who tells you it's going to be easy. And yes, we should be very concerned about what the next steps may be. All right, that's the scene in Iran. That's the celebrations that you're seeing. And that's the Crown Prince saying that he's ready, if called upon, to help transition this government so that there is no instability. Oh, and by the way, let me just say one more thing. Much of that havoc and violence and unrest that we saw in Iraq after toppling Saddam Hussein's regime and after overseeing the first free and fair election in that country, most of the terror that we saw there and the unrest was because of Iran. Ironically, removing Iran from the picture actually may make this transition a little bit easier. I say cautiously. All right. Now, about an hour and a half after that first speech from President Trump, we had a report on Fox News from Trey Yingst, who was in Tel Aviv, Israel. Tel Aviv, of course, and Israel itself on the front line here, and an obvious prime target for retaliation from the Iranian regime. Iran has retaliated. I want to show you a little bit of that, but most specifically this report, because not only does Trey Yingst reveal some breaking news that he's discovered about who was targeted specifically in this first strike, but also during this report, a missile attack comes into Israel in real time. Take a watch.
Back to Tel Aviv, where Trey Yingst is on the ground. Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey, what's happening there now?
Yeah, Griff, this is breaking news. A senior Israeli official tells Fox News that Iran's supreme leader and Iran's president were targeted in strikes against the Iranian capital of Tehran. Also targeted were the commanding officers responsible, according to this official, for the mass murder of Iranian protesters. The official adds that battle damage assessments will come out later. But again, this is a massive development. A senior Israeli official telling Fox News that Iran's supreme leader and Iran's president. So the Ayatollah Khamenei and Masoud Pezeshkian were targeted in Israeli strikes against the capital of Tehran. We don't know if they were successful as of yet. These battle damage assessments take some time, but it gives you a sense that the Americans and the Israelis, again, chose the most significant option that was on the table for military action against Iran. At this hour, the Iranians are still responding with ballistic missile fire against Israel. More alerts just sounded on phones across this country, urging people to get into bomb shelters. This will be a back and forth that continues in the days ahead as the Iranians not just continue their targeting of Israel, but also regional Gulf countries, from the UAE to Saudi Arabia to Bahrain. This is a regional war that is developing following these American and Israeli strikes against Iranian leadership. And you can hear that right now, Griff. Air raid sirens are sounding across Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv. Stay with me here. Can you grab my vest? Just stay with us, Griff.
Trey Yingst there in Tel Aviv as he puts on his protective wear, the flak jacket there. Sirens are ringing across Tel Aviv. Sirens have rung across Jerusalem. Iran clearly is retaliating. We have seen Israelis going to the bomb shelters. And Trey, a frightening moment there.
Yeah, right now, this is a defining moment. Israeli cities are under attack. And again, we can report to you at this hour, a senior Israeli official tells Fox News that Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, and Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, were targeted in these strikes. The Israelis looking to decapitate Iranian leadership, to, as how some described in the planning process, cut the head of the snake. And the Americans supporting the Israelis in these strikes. This was a combined effort to take out Iranian leadership. We, again, don't have the battle damage assessments, but just stay with me here. Okay, you can see right now there's a missile interceptor, and my cameraman's going to stay on it. There's two of them right now soaring through the skies over Tel Aviv. And you can see those lines of white smoke. Those are the interceptors that are currently in the air right now, looking to intercept the incoming Iranian ballistic missile fire. You see, this is live right now as those sirens sounded. Millions of people across central Israel are in bomb shelters as the Israelis work to shoot down this incoming Iranian fire. And Griff, it just gives you a sense of how kinetic all of this is going to be in the hours and days ahead. Again, President Trump overnight making that address, not just to the nation, but to the world. And you can hear the explosions there. Those are interceptors that are successfully shooting down those incoming Iranian ballistic missiles. And again, it's not just here in central Israel, Griff, it is across this country, and you hear those explosions there as these missiles are being shot down in the distance. Griff.
Trey, a frightening moment there. Please stay safe. But let me ask you, because as we are learning that this is likely going to be days, not hours, and the Israeli people not new to the interceptors and Iron Dome, having to defend against missile attacks. But at the moment we're in now, and as the country wakes up and realizes this joint U.S.-Israel strike on Iran is likely going to push Iran to throw the heaviest punch they have. Is Israel prepared to withstand this barrage that we are likely heading into at this hour?
They are. And remember, Israel has a tiered missile defense system. At the lowest level, the Iron Dome. Then they have David's Sling. And then they have the Arrow 2 and 3 system. And all of those systems will be on standby, prepared to shoot down incoming fire. What you just saw there was likely the Arrow 2 or 3 system, again, shooting down those incoming ballistic missiles after those sirens sounded across Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv. You also have the USS Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier, the world's largest, that is currently off the coast of Israel. It's closer to the northern city of Haifa. That is also expected to help to shoot down some of the incoming fire. And then in some of the more rural areas out in the Negev desert, you have the THAAD and Patriot missile defense systems supplied by the Americans. Over the past several days, and even weeks, Griff, we have seen these C-17 planes landing across the Middle East and here in Israel, many of them carrying these missile defense systems and the interceptors that are needed. So the preparation for this operation that was launched by President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu overnight was months in the making. And so they have the ability to shoot down this incoming fire. And what we have seen so far is actually far less fire than we saw during the 12-day war last summer. These barrages are coming in. They're targeting the entirety of Israel, but they're coming in 1 and 2 missile waves, not the dozens or even 100-plus missiles that we've seen in the past from the Iranians. And this is two-part, an indication that the Iranians may be trying to reserve some of their fire, understanding that this is going to be a sustained war, and also the fact that the Americans and the Israelis likely went after much of the launching positions that are spread throughout Iran. This is going to go on for many days, and so they have to be prepared not only looking east, but also looking north and south. You have Iran's largest proxies in the region, Hezbollah in southern Lebanon, and you have the Houthis in Yemen, both who have missile capabilities and drone capabilities of their own. And I was briefed by an intelligence official in the past week who indicated there are still thousands of missiles and rockets in the arsenal of Hezbollah. They have the capability to target major population centers. And previously we heard from their leadership, what's left of it following the Israeli campaign against Hezbollah, that they would respond directly if Iran's supreme leader was targeted. And again, we can bring you that information today, according to a senior Israeli official, that Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, and Iran's president, Masoud Pezeshkian, were targeted. We do not know the outcome of those strikes. Again, these battle damage assessments can take hours, if not days, depending on the location and the depth of the strikes. But the latest information, Griff, that we have, Israel remains under attack at this hour by Iranian ballistic missile fire, and this country is bracing for days of war ahead.
Days of war ahead, exactly. And the White House has also been expressing that sentiment that this is not going to be an operation that's just hours long, as we saw in Venezuela, and the bombing raid against the nuclear facilities earlier in the year at the hands of the United States. No, this will be days, but you're not hearing that it will be months. Right now, we recognize how these things can happen and these things can progress. But at the moment, I'm just conveying to you exactly what we're hearing from the White House and from all of the advisors to the president who are speaking on background. And, of course, the president's remarks that he's already delivered. They are looking at days of activity here, not hours. That's currently the message. Now, as Yinks just said, it has been confirmed that it was the Supreme Leader and the President who were targeted, and there are reports suggesting that the two of them were in the same room having a meeting with other senior officials of the Iranian regime. And yes, Israel was involved in this attack in a couple of different ways. Most significantly, I suspect it was via their intelligence apparatus because, well, as we've seen over the course of the last couple of years with the beeper attacks and other incredible operations that they've put in place, they have pretty good intel and pretty good sources, and frankly, they have double agents within the governments and within these terror networks who are working with them. And apparently the Supreme Leader and the President, based on initial reports, were actually in the same room at the same time when this strike happened. And as you just heard from Trey Yingst, it could take a while to get some damage assessments. But here's the first photo we have. That's the room they were in. That is the compound of the Supreme Leader of Iran. That is the first image that we have of that building and compound after that first initial strike. Not a lot left. Now, Iran has retaliated, as you just saw during that report. They have launched missile strikes against Israel, but not just Israel. They have also launched missile strikes against Bahrain and against certain assets in other Arab nations that have cooperated in the past and have alliances with the United States of America. One of the most significant attacks that we've seen right now is against the U.S. Navy's headquarters there in Bahrain. Take a look at this video. We have had no damage assessment reported from the United States military or from the White House with regard to the extent of the damage done by that attack, but it is confirmed that that is either at or quite near the Navy's headquarters there. I think it's the 5th Command for the Navy in the Middle East. We don't know if that hit one of the buildings. We don't know if it hit one of the buildings nearby, and we have no reports of casualties there. However, because of Iran's attack on neighboring Arab nations that have cooperated with the United States military over the years, we have a significant development. The country of Saudi Arabia, Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, have put out a statement. It obviously is in Arabic, but as you can see from this report, they have now announced that they will join the United States operation against the Islamic Republic regime and the attacks on the U.S. base in Saudi Arabia. Now, up until now, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia had signaled to the Iranian government that they would not participate, that they would remain neutral, and they would not allow the United States to use their airspace. That was a couple of weeks ago when that announcement was made. Iran made a huge strategic error. They attacked the U.S. base in Saudi Arabia. Now Saudi Arabia is on board. At the moment, and I've been searching for this, and I will let you know, in fact, this is a developing story, obviously, and as we learn more about these military strikes today, we'll come back live as the news warrants. So make sure that you subscribe to our channel and ask for alerts, because as all of the resources at Town Hall Media, all of our sources within the administration and at the Pentagon, and as we track all of the reports we're getting worldwide and certainly from that region come in as news warrants, we will come straight to you. But let me just say, based on when we went live 30 plus minutes ago and right up until moments ago, I have not seen one country make an announcement that they stand with Iran. At the moment, Iran is isolated. They are alone. They have no friends. And for everybody who thinks that it's all of the Middle East against Israel or it's all of the Middle East against America, that's not the case. Iran is not even an Arab nation, and there has been hostility brewing under the surface between Iran and the Arab countries in that region, most specifically the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. They don't like each other. And because Iran struck out against Saudi Arabia and the U.S. base, the Air Force base in Saudi Arabia, now Saudi Arabia has said, game on. We're helping out the United States. Now, they have their own interests, too, because if Iran is neutralized here, that means that Saudi Arabia is the dominant power in that region. Of course, they're moving the chess pieces on the board. It's like a big game of Risk over there. But one thing is for certain. If Iran was hoping for help from other nations, that they could rally everybody and start waving the sabers in the air and say, death to Israel, death to Israel. There's a whole lot of countries out there that don't like Israel over there in that region, but they don't like Iran even more. And that's where they are right now. All right, like I said, we're going to come back to you as soon as we have more information. No doubt we will probably go live again later today. If you have any comments or have any questions, or if you want to let your voice be heard, that's part of what we do here at Town Hall. All opinions are welcome, even the wrong ones. We'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the live chat or in the comments if you're watching after the fact. And I think we had one super chat, Kevin, is that correct? From our buddy Stumbleboots? Well, let's go. You're cool too, Stumbleboots. God bless you and God bless America. Please, everybody, say a prayer for our troops, people who are in harm's way right now, who have been trained specifically for this mission. Please say a prayer for our leadership, for our president, President Donald Trump, for Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, and all of the chain of command at the Pentagon. It's not easy what they're doing right now, but they are trained, they are equipped, and they need our support to be able to get the job done. Let me just finish with this. Say what you will about President Donald Trump, but if this military strike is successful and that regime is toppled, and if, and I know it's a big if, somehow a peaceful new regime can take over the country of Iran that has normalized relations with the United States and the world community, if that is a success under President Trump, then I'll say it right now, he will go down in history as the most consequential president of the United States since Franklin Roosevelt. Keep an eye on this story. I know we will. And keep your eye right here on this channel and at all of our reporting at townhall.com, at redstate.com, at Hot Air, at PJ Media, and at Twitchy and Bearing Arms. The entire Town Hall Media family plugged in, working overtime all weekend for you. We shall see you soon. Thanks for watching.